Hey everyone, welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture, and we are back in the saddle once again for another season. And I have with me Dustin Burnell and April Reyna. So welcome to the show, both of you.
Thanks, man. We appreciate you having us.
I am excited. I am very, very excited to have both of you on. And obviously, I did back Frog Legs, and I'm super excited. I made my cover a foil, and we're gonna go why I picked the one I picked over a little bit later. And I hope I'm the only one, but I have a feeling that he's gonna copy me because it's the best cover I picked. But I do want to talk about your Kickstarter. I mentioned it's Frog Legs. You're not new to Kickstarter. I think this is your 17th project overall, but this is a brand new series. So what is the basic premise of this comic?
Man, so Frog Legs is a ton of fun. It's literally a ton of fun. I don't remember what happened. So my muses are life in general. And if something happens, I hop on it. You know what I mean? I'm about whatever comes real in my brain comes forward real strong. And my wife had been watching these cooking shows for a little bit, and I'm a big fan of Frog Legs. I've grown up in the South almost all my life, and if you're scared of them or if you haven't had them, I swear to you, they taste just like chicken. It's just like chicken. But anyway, so I was like, we can do something really fun with that, and I had a story written for the listener in Louisiana, and I was like, we should expand that world, and come up with a character in that realm, in that part of the country and whatnot. So we came up with Bastion, and Bastion is a super fun loving dude. I was a big fan of Gambit as a kid, right? Spoiler alert, he's not as awesome as you guys may think he is. But anyway, so I was looking, whatever, dude. I was a huge fan, and I started looking at the dialogue. Right, when I put down a book, I dive into those books. You know what I mean? The dialogue has to be perfect. The lingo has to be perfect. Everything has to work, right? Because you can't have this great Creole character and some jackass dude that's never been to Louisiana writes him. You know what I mean? So it's so I sat down and I started taking these language courses and stuff to learn how to write this character. And so he's this young dude. They graduates culinary school, moves back home to open a restaurant on his family's property, and he has this great concept to turn this old building into a restaurant because he grew up there, so he knows all these people and whatever else. And this chick comes in and she immediately catches his attention, and being the dude that he is, he's looking for somebody to help him work this restaurant, even though it's a small one. He still needs a staff. So he starts looking to hire people, and she's basically not going to take no for an answer. And then we get involved with the voodoo stuff and the monsters and demons and your ethereal spice blend that we throw in there.
Yeah, the way I describe your book is that it's if Food Wars and Anthony Bourdain's Hungry Ghost had a baby.
That is great. I mean, that's an amazing compliment because Food Wars is amazing. It's a lot of fun. We get into the realer side of the more religious side of voodoo a little bit. We bring in, Loa and stuff like that. We're really interested in keeping it as legit as we could possibly keep it as we're telling this story. And she'll have crossovers with Greed and stuff like that, and it'll be a lot of fun. It's the same world. So you got your great covers. You've got amazing artists. We brought on Elberty, who's an incredible artist. And he's done covers for us before, but he's never done interiors. So he got with Bladen Hunter, our art director, and the two of them worked together to get these interiors together. and they just came out super fun. Like I was sold as soon as they sent them to me. I was just like, well, that's real cool.
We're going to get to the covers. Let's not jump ahead here. Okay. I got plenty of pictures. I love pictures. They're
right
fun.
on.
But I definitely want to talk about the story because I obviously pick and choose which projects I back.
For sure. Absolutely.
I don't back every interviewee that I, have on my show.
Right on.
There are plenty of people that I don't back, and it's not against them, but I am very selective. And when I read this, I'm like, man, I'm kind of sold on this story and where are we going with this? Because we have food in there. We got, sort of demons and monsters and some, I guess, supernatural elements. Voodoo might be a good way to put it. And then we also have this sort of hot chick in there. Yeah. And she might be hiding some stuff. So it's really interesting. And I'm going to throw the fourth thing in there is Louisiana is a very interesting place.
Absolutely. Oh my God.
And there's some weird stuff that's happened in Louisiana. There's some really cool stuff that's happened in Louisiana. And it's just a very, very, I guess, mystical place is a good way to put it.
It really is. It's very diverse, and it's like mystical aura energy stuff as well. So Celine is this very sultry character. She comes in, she knows what she's got going on, but you also have a third main character that we introduce that we show all the time. I'm not going to give it away, but we show him all the time. And he's a really great character, but he's also one of these like very like haughty, like I run the show type of characters. And it's a lot of fun because he's not a real big guy. You know what I mean? So, but we introduce, the food stuff. We bring in different types of my spoofs on celebrities later on that are going to come in and check out the restaurant and stuff like that. There's, but the darkness level of, this book of Frog Legs is on par with anything that I've put out. We have this, it was meant to be this light on the surface, layered just like you would a dish of, different types of storytelling. And I think everybody's going to love Celine. I think she's a lot of fun. She's like one of these characters where you can't tell if she's a good guy or a bad guy, whether she's an antagonist or protagonist throughout your stories. But we want to see her. You know what I mean? She's one of those characters that draws you in, I think. I had a real hard time putting that book down when I first got it finished. I was like, oh, I need to do this. I need to do that. So I have some real cool plans for the additional 6 pages. Really excited about those. But no, it's very different than anything else that I've seen on the market or anything else we've put out so far.
Yeah, and let's even dive into this a little bit because obviously I don't know as much as other things like voodoo, and obviously I'm not, a Louisiana, New Orleans, expert in any realm, nor am I a chef. But what is this like to kind of, I feel like, because you're equating food and the complex elements of food and spices, combine that with the darkness, and a lot of it is an allegory, and it's very interesting. Where with what's going on with the complications of a dish and even what they're doing is also affecting the story. And there's a real issue of darkness is creeping in, and what is that darkness and where did it originate? And it's just so fascinating because there's a lot of different ways you could read this. And I've only seen the preview pages, but I have an idea that it's very complicated and that you could read it on a very superficial level. But then
you could put, so I look at Frog Legs like a book, like a lot of my books for our normal readers know that I like depth. I really, really like depth. But this was a book that I think you could pick up and enjoy it for what it is. But if you look deeper and you take a moment to savor what you're reading, you're going to find there's so much more to this. There's comments by some of the characters that refer to literal food that you would not even realize was a comment about food unless you used said food or ingredients in things. And then there's stuff that alludes to the voodoo side of things. There's stuff that, like, when we put these two characters together. I had never written a love story. Like, I had never written a love story before. And my wife was like, well, you really don't write like that. I mean, is that a realm that you're going to go into with this? How deep are you going to take this relationship? And I was like, you know what? I can make it my kind of love story. You know what I mean? And it was a lot of fun for me to do the interactions with these two characters, because as upfront and brusque as she is, Sebastian is the opposite. He's very respectful, he's very kind, and she's very strong. Like, she comes on real strong, plus you've got the voodoo elements and stuff that he doesn't even recognize are occurring. The stuff she puts in the food, the different salts she uses, the types of stuff she puts around the outside of the restaurant. If anybody's paying attention when they're reading the book that knows anything about voodoo, we add a white cat at the very beginning of the book. The white cat is not a welcome thing in the story. So he's removed pretty quickly by our third character. But it's a lot of fun because everything we do, we try to stay true to what we're doing. I don't ever want to be disrespectful to a religion, a faith, a belief system. So I always do my research. I always make sure that we're being, upfront and honest about what people are receiving. And I love Celine. I think she's the gnarliest character. I will say this is the most borderline book we've gone to the red label in the blue side yet. I have not. April was getting on to me about it. I got real close to breaking my own rules about my two different companies, and I was like, we can allude to acts of things, and she's definitely spicy, man. Celine is she's definitely a something.
Yeah, to even talk about that, I mean, obviously everybody has different philosophies on what they want to do with their company.
For sure.
When I read a comic, I am not interested in doing a nude book or even many nude covers. That could change, but that's kind of not where I want to be. I want to have fun, playful covers, but I don't want to cross that line. I'm not a big fan.
Absolutely.
I'm a reseller of Zenoscope, and I'm actually not a fan of their Z-rated books. There's a lot of reasons why. I just know people who have had eBay stores get banned because of nude covers. I would prefer just not to play in that space because it's a healthy environment. That's how I want it to stay. But I'm not against it. It's just not for me. But what is that like to figure out where the line is, where the line is not, and even saying, cool, this book belongs in company A versus company B, because that's a very tough call.
It's not an easy decision to make. When April and I decided that, and Joseph, when we all decided we were going to do a different label for the other content, it was like, we have a certain formula for ethereal books, right? It's a very tried and true formula. The fans enjoy it, and that's what's important. Because, I mean, we're a company that puts out books every month. So I have to make sure that people are happy with the content, and when it comes to our stuff, I'm very the nude form doesn't bother me as long as people are being if we're not being lewd with it, you know what I mean? I'm okay with it. I'm super, super okay with it in the blue label. In fact, all our books are meant for adults anyway. You know what I mean? So when it comes to cover work, I have no problem doing full nudes with the blue label or anything like that. Even dudes, it doesn't bother me any because, I mean, it's a body. We've been doing artistic nudes since the beginning of time, But when you start getting into sexual situations and stuff, that's where it changes the bar. You know what I mean? Now you're talking about possibly making people uncomfortable, or you're possibly talking about, going to a whole different realm of, are we talking about regular art? Are we talking about porn? Where's the line between art and porn start, though? You know what I mean? There's a very, it's very derivative of art in general, where you're going, art's subjective. Okay, so are you making an artistic piece or are you making porn? You have to be the one that decides that, you know. Whereas in Ethereal, all of our stuff is very clean. You know what I mean? There's if it's a nude, it makes sense that there's nudity. You know what I mean? Or if there's a cover that there's most of our covers have what we call wild editions, which are all tasteful nudes. And our clientele expects that. You know what I mean? There's an expectation that if I don't put out a nude cover or a nude variant for a cover, people will ask, where's the wild edition of that particular cover? And sometimes it's like it makes sense to do them, and then there's times where you're like, that doesn't need it. That particular cover art doesn't need to be that way.
Because I think there's two on this one. I think cover A and cover B. I don't think I have wild editions, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain cover A does not. It doesn't. No, because that's Alberty's cover. It does not. I don't know. Cover in Joseph's doesn't either. So the Blade and Hunter cover does not have one either. So cover A and cover B don't have them. And that's because of the fact that our cover A's will never generally have a nude variant unless we specifically look for them, because we're in a lot of stores in the country. So it's like I don't ever want to put off a buyer or a new friend, you know what I mean, because they can't put the covers on their walls, and I respect them too much to be like, hey, there's no option for you. That's not a thing, so we make sure that we've got April. That is astounding, by the way, madam. But no,
I like my bunny.
I like the bunny. We go out of our way to make sure that everyone is accountable, everybody is comfortable.
I think you brought up a really good point about understanding your clientele.
Absolutely.
And not to turn this into a 101 masterclass here.
Oh, no.
But it's very cool when you understand your clientele. And obviously, I'm in business, you're in business. And I'm an eBay seller, and I understand my clientele very well, what they want in big or large. And I buy accordingly and I sell accordingly. And I think it's very important when you're going into retail to understand that a comic shop might be kid friendly or they want to be kid friendly. And there's a comic shop that I used to go to that is extremely kid friendly. So the last thing they want is a nude book in their store, or even something that could potentially be that. And they don't have a problem picking up a book like this. They just don't want boobs flying everywhere.
Absolutely. We used to have where in our shop we used to do personal orders, and we our pull lists and stuff like that. But we also do bagged books. So if you wanted to see X, or X, you know what I mean, it'd be behind the counter, and we'd pull the short boxes for it if you wanted to look. You know what I mean? But we have to have an understanding that I also have a 12-year-old daughter, and it is my goal in life to help her understand how powerful she is as a human being. So it's always been one of those things where I have no problem with the human form, and I push for my kids to understand that everyone is beautiful as a person. And that can sound as hippie as it wants to, but there's a concept nowadays where young girls are beating themselves up because they don't feel like they're pretty enough, because society has created that. And I fight that every day with a 12-year-old daughter. You know what I mean? And I put out product that when you look at the Blue Label books, that we don't just put out the typical form. You know what I mean? If you look at some of our characters, we've got thicker girls out there. We've got, skinny girls out there, bigger chicks. We've got every size you can think of under the sun, including men. We don't just shoot for what's, popular or what's the in thing or anything like that. I happen to be a fan of the dad bod. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's just, the coolest thing, because not everybody can control that, so it doesn't matter about diet or anything. Physically, not everybody can control that. So,
Whatever. There's something real sexy about a dad bod. For real. I'm gonna keep myself in check. It's fine.
but when it comes to our books and our characters, we try to be respectful again, and we make sure that we talk to the store owners. We make sure that we talk to them about their clientele, what they like, what they'd like to see. So, because most of the stores that we work with do variants, they do their store variants with us. So it's like, what kind of covers do they want? They get to decide their covers. They come to the artist, they go, hey, look, we'd like this. And Joseph approves it or he doesn't approve it. You know what I mean? It's a pretty easy system, because we want you to be happy with what you have. Even we have online clients that have their online stores that want exclusives for their online stores. And it's like, cool, yeah, let's do that. But let's make sure that it's what you want and what's going to do well for you. Because I don't want to sell you books that you're not going to sell. You know what I mean? That's not what I want to do.
I think that's one of the biggest problems with retail, is that, and in particular, both online and in stores, is that you have to understand, I think, two things. A, what covers are going to sell. And I think it's partially the store's responsibility, where the store has to say, look, I know that book D and E are going to do well in my store. Yep. And I need a package that does that. But I also think, people on the other side in Kickstarter need to realize price points, and they also need to be open, saying, look, this person doesn't want cover A, B, and C. Right. And I think, that's one of the problems that I have. And it's why in my eBay store, I'm trying to pick up retail packages. I try to communicate with people on Kickstarter saying, look, I'm willing to pay you a little bit more, but I want 5 of these covers and that's all I want. Or I want 10 of these covers.
What we do to help people like that is, so I don't know if you have any experience with it at all, but when we had a retail store, it was like, back then you could only order through Diamond. Okay. So you would order through Diamond and you would get a discount based on the amount you ordered, the volume you ordered. Okay. Well, what we do now with Ethereal is we offer you the same rate. It doesn't matter how many you order. Okay. If you order 15, you're still getting 50% off of retail right off the bat. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter. Or if you order 10 and you can prove that you're a retail store, you're still going to get 50% off. So right now, our most popular, which is the one I use the most, is we offer 50 of any covers to a retail shop for $400. That's $750 a piece, which is half of our retail. And that includes our wild editions, so that you get more than 50% off if you're ordering those. But it's because of the fact that I was so tired of trying to make money with the prices that we were seeing before. Now, mind you, I pay $4, okay, to print a book, almost $4, roundabout. So if you include shipping, it's going to be $4 for me to print a book. So when I print said book and I sell you the book for $7.50 to retail, you're going to sell it for $7.50. You're not going to sell the variant, though, that's a virgin for $20, like I advise. You probably won't. You'll probably turn around and sell it for 40, 50, whatever you sell it for. You know what I mean? That's your prerogative, because you own the product now. You've paid. But I try to make a price point that's fair, because to me, our thing about retail shops is it's not about making a buck on the retailer. Our thing about the retail shops is getting the word out about the book. So if the word out is about the book, now more and more people are coming to Kickstarter. More and more people are coming to our website. More, you know what I mean? It's a very symbiotic relationship with retailers. That's why I never understood why you had to order so much to get a deal that made sense. Most folks in retail right now use online to sell their books. That is they make their most money online, whatever, outside of Pokemon, outside of Magic, stuff like that. Comic book sales are done mostly online anymore. You know what I mean? Even your pull boxes and stuff. You might have a few pull box customers. Like I said, I've been around the country been to so many different stores, it's not even funny. But the consensus is most of those guys stay alive by selling online. That's how they stay alive. And it makes us happy to be able to go to an online only retailer and be like, hey, you guys have got a great shop. We love your products. What do you want to do? Would you like to do a variant? And we've got incredible artists that'll work with you and whatever else. So
You also hit another thing, and this is something that Travis Gibb was explaining to me, is that 50 comics is a hell of a lot different than 250. I'm going to mention a company called Scout. Scout has a required minimum of 250 comics if you want an exclusive. I don't think people understand, and this is not against Scout. Moving 250 comics is really hard.
Absolutely.
For me, as an eBay store, for a comic shop, it's a big risk. Versus moving 50, it's a hell of a lot less of a risk.
Yeah, we don't even
short box, just to give an idea of what it looks like.
Right now, we don't even require the 50 when you do an exclusive. All we ask is that you pay the artist up front and you give us an actual concept of what you'd like to see. That's all we ask. And then, between 25 and 50 is what most people order. So that's the general consensus. We charge between $300 and $500 for an exclusive, depending on who you want to do it and who you want to color it. You know what I mean? And that's shipping included. So, you get a really nice cover. Like we just did 2 of them in the past month that turned out really, really incredible. One of them for Frog Legs that's just Die Hard by Joseph, and it's just really, really great. And it's good for stores to be able to come out and be like, look, man, let's be real and cut through all the foam and bullshit at the top of things. Okay. When it comes to comic books, we have to give to get. Okay. At both sides of the street, So when you come out and you're like, I want a $1,000 so-and-so, exclusive cover. I'm going to go, well, we can do that. I can reach out to them and we can make it happen. Or I can give you an equivalent art cover from somebody that works for Ethereal. And for anybody watching, no bullshit, we've got great artists, incredible artists that are
I can name a few that I could recommend. Steph Wilson's a good one. Greg Bo Watson's a great one. Greg Bo is great. Honestly, I recommend Greg Bo at the top.
Right.
If you don't mind me saying so.
No, absolutely not. I'm very proud of everybody that's a member of Ethereal. You know what I mean? I push their work on every project any of them does. It's something we believe in the concept of the bullpen. We've been likened to old school publishers, and I appreciate that because I love that mentality. Because I care about these people like I care about my family. I know about their children. I know about their lives. I know everything that's going on. And I do everything in my power to make sure they know that they're not a number. So when it comes to Greg Bo, man, look, if you want a store exclusive from Greg Bo, holler at me. We'll make it happen. If there's anybody that was on our team that I can possibly steer people toward, I will. Because not only are you going to save money, but it's also work for that artist. You know what I mean? It's I would put April on a bajillion different things. I put her on blank covers all the time, and that agency is banging. But there's when we do things, you can quote me on it because I say it all the time. When we eat, we all eat. And that includes the stores that we work with. If I come up and I'm like, man, I got a really banging idea for a cover, I make sure that these guys at the stores know, hey, look, I'm only going to do 50 of these. Do you guys want one? Do you want 2 beforehand? Before we go out and go, hey, look, here they are for the rest of the world to consume, because I feel like they deserve that. One cool thing that I always thought was nice that a couple of companies did back in the day, I haven't seen them do it since, was not IDW, but Image. Image came into my shop and they dropped off like gold editions of number ones and stuff. I didn't have to pay extra for that. It was just something cool they did. And I believe in, like I said earlier before the show even started, you give what you get, and if we can continue to help people grow, if I can help a comic shop make money, then they're going to come back to us next month and they're going to be like, hey.
I think it's very interesting where I think a lot of people have forgotten that you have to, preserve the industry.
For sure.
And you have to, everybody has to eat, but if you want to get into a comic shop, you got to help keep the comic shop alive.
That's it.
I talk about this with media all the time where, there's all these independent media sites. And if you want news about you or news about comics, you got to keep them alive.
Right.
You got to, support podcasts that are interviewing people. If you don't do that, that stuff disappears.
For sure.
Support could just be like, hey, like your show, or leave a 5-star review on iTunes or subscribe on YouTube. It could be very simple like that. Or it could obviously be ticked up a notch and you could go as far as you want to go. But it's the simple things. And I think that's something that I feel has been lost in a lot of ways.
Well, it's interesting, right? So like we went through COVID and April will be the first person to tell you, when we went
one or two ways, right? It went one or two ways, people.
Right? Yeah. It was not, there was no longer the mentality of a team. There was no longer the mentality of a business. Everybody went to, I'm like my lone wolf thing trying to exist during COVID.
It wasn't just COVID, though. The problem has been that everybody's had like a social media uptick. Oh, now we've got TikTok. Oh, now we've got Twitter. We've got social media just out the wazoo. And they've made a name for themselves and they've been able to do it by themselves. But now all of a sudden with COVID, that kind of crashed. And so where they were able to do everything on the low key with their publisher backhand, my hand scratches your hand kind of thing, whatever. I don't know, whatever. All of a sudden, businesses were going under. They lost those connections. They no longer had that, and they've had to reinvent themselves. But they've been fighting to do that. Oh gosh, by the second Marvel bankruptcy or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
They've
sure we'll see another one of those before long.
They've been having to scrape and cut each other down to get ahead for so long. They've forgotten how to play by a team. And I was fortunate enough to start with Heroic Age Studios in a actual studio setting where we actually grew with each other, and I'm able to kind of help facilitate a little bit of that as we do this online versus in person. And it's amazing that we're able to do this on a global market, not just in the States.
I had a very different reaction to COVID. I was a lone wolf, and I decided saying, all these people are getting fucked. And I decided to start my whole live thing where I was taking my show from being pre-recorded to going live, realizing that everybody was getting screwed. But I was doing it all by myself. But I felt like I wanted to do an act of, I guess, goodness, and realizing that people were getting screwed over. And I was like, I can help people. And it was nice. And it wasn't even a team thing, but like the way I view it is that it's either people have gotten nicer because of COVID, or people have gotten meaner and more self-interested or more generous. And that's how I view COVID. And there's no getting out of it. And I think it's team related and other things. And I could tell you that where I'm working right now, I don't think with my current circumstances recovering from a surgery, I would have gotten the same response pre-COVID. I do not think I would have.
I can see that. I think that is, as we grow though, like what I was referring to is the artist mentality or the creative mentality where like April hit on it. It's like a lot of these cats that came out during COVID as well have never worked in a professional environment. They've learned that they have this talent during this time period. So they've fostered this talent, but they've never worked in Marvel. They've never worked for DC. They've never worked for Image. They've never worked for Boom, whoever, what have you. You know what I mean? And as we have grown, if you look at the roster of Ethereal, there's very few people that don't have a pedigree that are in Ethereal, you know, and it's an interesting thing to see when, like, we've got cats that have come out and been like, hey, look, we see what you're doing, we want in, or we want, you know, like the last time I think we actually went looking to hire someone, it's been a while, because it's really cool when people have the same mentality you do and they want to grow with you. Like everybody understands it's a job, right? We get it's a job. But if you get a job where you're happy, you're respected, and you're paid, you know, that's what we all want, right? We all want that life. And it was a goal of ours to always be able to facilitate the best circumstances we could for everybody on our team, you know. So like if you look at Devin Massey is the interior artist for Cave Woman. He's been doing it for a long time. It's a really, really good dude. His brother Mitch is a good dude. They've both been with us for over a year now. And I remember when I'm a big fan of Cave Woman. I love that concept, you know.
Great concept.
Miriam,
I picked up some of them.
So much fun. Miriam's a great character. And I was a big Bud Root fan before that, you know, and when both those guys have influenced my business. If Bud Root had not told me it was a good idea for me to write comic books, I wouldn't be writing comic books. You know, if you know, when Devin came and we were talking about doing covers together and we started talking about doing Theater 7, like it was a book that I wrote for him. Like I literally wrote Theater 7 for Devin. And it's, as we go, that's why it's the only book that we have a black and white edition of, you know, because that's what he had done before. He'd never done a colored book. So I was like, you know, we're going to make sure that we give back and make sure his fans can get a black and white washed edition of this if they want it, you know. But it's all about the camaraderie and treating these folks like they're who they are and letting them work to the best of their ability. You know, April came in and she has done this amazing thing where she has like a questionnaire she sends out to everybody that joins Ethereal. And it's literally like, what do you like to do? Like, no bullshit. It's literally like, what do you like to do? And the artists will come out and be like, hey, look, we like this, or this. And it's fun to be able to put people in work that they like to do, you know. You know, I've come out of my shell because when I started writing, it was all horror. Like, it was all horror, you know. And when I got with Devin, all of a sudden we wrote a comedy. And the comedy was received really, really well, you know. And to move into love stories with Frog Legs and to move into... which is not your typical love story, but it is a lot of fun.
I didn't view it as a love story.
No, it's my take on. Did you ever see that movie? Man, what was that Brendan Fraser movie with him and was it Bedazzled, where like he fell in love with like the devil?
I know what you're talking about.
Was it Bedazzled?
Elizabeth Hurley was in it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Anyway, so that's what it's like. It's literally like if you could fall in love with the gnarliest person ever and them be like a voodoo priestess. You know, that would be how I would describe it. And like, or like we joked, my wife and I joked about the fact that it reminds her of like a really jacked up Lois and Clark relationship. Like, yeah, but her being Clark and him being Lois. It's so much fun. I'm
telling you, it's Food Wars and Anthony Bourdain's Ghost.
I agree.
Hungry Ghost.
Oh my gosh.
Having a kid. I'm telling you, if you read Hungry Ghosts and you see Food Wars, you're
I
gonna be
need
like,
to get
man,
on it.
it's
Food
perfect.
Wars is incredible. If you haven't seen it, don't take our word for it. But Food Wars is incredible. The book is great as well. But anyway, so yeah, that's. I mean, as a company, we strive to bring together the best of all of our aspects that we can, because I value your $14.99. I value your $19.99.
I think that that's a big thing that people don't understand is that, as I stated at the start of this, and I'm very serious about this, is that I interview 120 to 150 people a year.
Yeah.
Not all of them are in comics. I interview wrestlers. So let's say I interview 75 people in comics conservatively. I might only back 20 to 25 of their projects. And that's not counting certain people like, Greg Will Watson just had a trading card project. That doesn't count because that's not a comic.
Right.
I was a pretty
It's
big
beautiful art. It's beautiful art in that card project.
I was a pretty big backer because I'm getting my own exclusive trading card. I don't know if I could
There
say
you go.
that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could say that, but I just did. So
Not many
there's only
people
25
can say that. So good on you, dude. That's a good one.
It's a good one. It's the X-Men one that it's nude rogue. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
I like how fun sketch cards are. It's just that like I get very focused, and then I forget that there's other things that I need to be doing, and then I'm like, oh man, 300 Red Sonja cards later, I'm like, shit, I got so much other things I'm supposed to be working on.
Yeah, April's been doing cards for a long time.
Oh no, it's an awesome thing where it's technically in that set, and there's only 25 of them, and I think he's drawing it, and then it's almost printed like a limited 25. And
yeah.
Trading card guy, and it's gonna be great, and I'm gonna make a small fortune on it. But he is not gonna have one, so I'm actually having to send one to him. That's how crazy that set is. That he, as the artist, doesn't even have one of them. And I said to him, "Yeah, I'll just send you one. It's not gonna cost me much to send him one in the long run."
For sure. That's one of the things. Like I mentioned, we appreciate your dollar. Because we know how. Look, we all work for a living, right? Like, so it's, some of us work 40 hours, some of us work 80 hours, you know what I mean? But we all work for that dollar, right? And so for people to spend time in our worlds that we create, or to spend the money to flip, to make money off the things that we create, we appreciate you. We appreciate every little aspect of it. Like, all joking aside, we've got trading cards, we've got pillows, we've got statues. Hell, I mean, there's all kinds of cool things that we've done and created, that you guys have picked up, and the easy stuff, the low hanging fruit was t-shirts and stuff, right? That was low hanging fruit. But when we started going, well, we're going to do these massive pillows with actual fucking implants in them, you know what I mean? It was like, are people gonna be down, and I sold out of those things in a record time, and we've had to get more a couple times. But
so let's actually talk about that too, because there's a saying, and Mark Cuban says it, and I don't know if you're a Mark Cuban fan, but I am, so it's all right. He says, "No balls, no babies." And it's a very, very good phrase to use.
For sure.
Because if you don't go out there and produce something and take the risk, in today's age on Kickstarter, you need to have something that's different. You need to have something beyond just cover art. You need to have something that's different, or you need to have a different concept or a different way to market it or a different way how to do it. And I think that's where this is getting interesting. I was speaking with Tom Hutchinson about this, where I don't have to come on to Kickstarter. If I want to read comics, I can go back to the 70s and I will have more than enough content for the rest of my life in a 10-year time period, and it's all accessible.
For sure.
And so,
and you original.
And original.
At that
time period. She said and original, because at that time period, people had not gone in and rehashed everybody's original stories at that point.
That is true. That is very true. But it's so true, so true. I have no way to dispute that, because it's just a fact. But you have to earn my dollar, and you have to stand out. And that's my whole thing, is that like you need something different, and I think it's brilliant, and I think that you should get a lot of respect for it. I really do.
Well, we appreciate that, man, very much. Like it's not easy. Like when we joked, you and I had talked when I first started this. We've talked a couple times, but when it came to like when we started, I had one IP, and it was the most original thing that I could possibly put out. And as we've grown, we're at 15 IPs now, all of them very original, and that's something that I strive to push because, again, I respect your dollar, and I don't want you to have to read something you've already read. There are plenty of books out there where they recolor a hero, or they give them the same hero another power, that someone else was already using or whatever, and I am avidly against the superhero game. Like, it's not, I don't hate it. I just won't write it. You know what I mean? Because it's just not, if I can't do it originally, if I can't do my own version of something that you've never seen, I don't want to do it. It's not something I find it's not challenging. It's not interesting to me because I've been reading comics for 30 years. If I come across my own writing and I find that I'm even dipping into the same realm that someone else has already written, I tend to leave post haste. You know what I mean? It has to be completely different.
I can vouch for that.
And I can be a total pain in the ass when it comes to these things. But
okay, you got standards. It's all right.
Yeah, it's part of my character, and I understand it. I own it. But there's like when our artists do something right now, like the only thing that we've done that is like others is try to show tribute to things that they've done. Like we did the Year of the Digital Flame, which was a lot of fun, and which was a calendar year, or the Year of the Blue Flame, which is calendar year for us, first calendar year. We put out a variant each month for that year related to fire, and it was a lot of fun. And this year we're doing the Year of the Digital Flame, which is a cover for everybody's favorite video game that month. We're all talking about a video game. We do a tribute to like that video game. Like the first month this year we did World of Warcraft. And it was a ton of fun for us because a couple of us play it and a few of our team don't even want people to know they play, but they have a good time with it. So we did World of Warcraft, and it was a lot of fun. And but you can always tell there are characters. We don't ever I'm real big on copyright infringement, like real big on it. I don't play, I don't mess around. You'll always be able to tell it's our characters. If it should never look exactly like someone else's product. You know what I mean? It just should never. So like when it comes to Agent C, I'll never let anybody do an identical Judy Hopps look for Agent C. I won't do it. When we started doing Agent C, April earlier talked about Harlequin Rabbit. Harlequin's an actual form of rabbit, and we wanted to make sure that she looked unique. But the first couple designs looked like Domino, like a rabbit version of Domino, and I was like, that's not going to fly. I'm not okay with that, at one point we did the character and it was like, oh my gosh, it looks like Harley Quinn is a rabbit. We're not doing that. You know what I mean? That's not a thing. So when we settled with the one black ear, it was like, that's different enough to make sure everybody can tell our character from anybody else's rabbit. She's got that one black ear. So, if you see a buddy with the one black ear and the same colors, that's probably
immediately.
Yeah. Let us know. All joking aside, people do that. They put your stuff all over these prints and put it all over their print walls and shit without even asking you for permission to do it. And it's just like, man, we had a guy. Where were we at? April. We were in Orlando, and a guy came up with a digital camera, and was literally zooming in
Uh-huh.
on our pieces, and it was just like, dude, you need to get out of here. You know what I mean with that nonsense.
It's interesting because, I mean, obviously Chris Rock right now obviously did a Netflix special, but one of the things that he was speaking about on Howard Stern a while ago is that he pays upward to $80,000 for people to store their cell phones in black bags, so it's not recorded when he sells out.
Right.
At, I guess concerts. I don't know what the right word is, but
Yeah.
I feel more
Sure.
comfortable knowing that somebody's not going to have a cell phone on them to be able to record me or my material when I'm performing or working through it or prepping up for a special. And
Right.
it's kind of crazy. And then I was speaking to somebody, and there's been times where there are spotters and they just point to somebody and then somebody gets kicked out of a theater
Absolutely.
because of something. And, right or wrong, I don't really know, because sometimes, I mean, if you do that enough times, you're going to make a bad call. But it does happen where people steal things all the time.
For sure.
And it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. I am a big fan of the law and copyright and things of that, but it's a crazy world we live in. I mean,
For sure. No,
I've been quoted on shows and people have taken clips out of my podcast, and I'm not comfortable with that.
That's crazy, right? Like, how do you do that without asking to use your content? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's silly. People are silly, and people are always going to do things. That's society. There's nothing we can do about it. But so I'm very interested. You said you picked a cover earlier. I'm very interested to see what your cover pick is.
See, I'm interested in what you think my cover pick was. That's what I'm interested in. And I did it foil, so I don't know if you looked at what I picked, because that might be an unfair advantage.
No, I haven't looked. I have not looked. My assumption is it's going to be the Steph Wilson or it's going to be the Greg Gwen. Those are my.
It's not either one of them.
That's funny.
Really? Ooh, let's see.
So I have it, and I think it's actually going to be the best one that is foil oriented. Okay. Wow, I had this the entire time. Wow.
Look, it's Joseph.
Hi.
I don't know how long you were here. My bad.
No, you're good. I can't talk much anyway, so I'm still really sick, but yeah.
Oh, baby, I'm sorry.
It's just good to see you, man. You don't have to talk.
Carry on as if I'm not here.
But what wound up happening is that I picked this one.
Oh, yeah, the Marissa Pope, for sure.
Because I think that neon green and foil is going to look sick.
It's going to look really good, for sure. Absolutely. I think that one. My favorite part is the hair. That's my favorite part of that one.
See, it's funny also because where I work in New Rochelle, and there's this graffiti artist who is this like French graffiti artist.
Yeah.
Who painted this whole side of a building is in a similar style. And he's like this world famous graffiti artist at the Madison Hotel, I think it is. And it's crazy. So I figured, like, there you go.
Yeah, man. So I'm a huge fan of all of our artists, right? Like, I'm a huge fan of all of them. And when anybody comes in and they're like, this is an idea or that's an idea, most of the time it goes through, Bladen, or then it comes to me, or it goes to April, then Bladen, then me. I'm generally the last person to see it, but and that's a good thing, because I wouldn't be able to keep up with everything else if I was keeping up with the artists and the colorists and stuff. But there's this concept though, when someone sends you something and it really sticks out. Like, my covers are some of my favorite, because they're when I say my covers, like my designs for the covers are some of my favorite, because it's like the one with that Gabriel did on the Frog Legs campaign right now, the limited 25. That one was one of my designs. I really love the concept of that. And there's it's just, they're every now and then, because I give them free reign. You can ask any of these cats. I give them free reign to do whatever they want.
I slipped in the tongue ring.
You did slip in the tongue ring.
He's all like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with it. You know what I mean? But because it came out and it looks really good. As soon as you see like the HD image of that cover and you actually have it in your hand, that friggin' tongue ring is gonna like pop off that cover. I'm telling you. But when
foil just that.
Spot foil the tongue ring, it's gonna look amazing.
I didn't think he was gonna let me.
Just right there on the thing. But it's, you know, when all these talented folks come in and they're like, you know, they come up with their own cover ideas or anything like that, it's so much fun to see what they create, you know. And like we were talking earlier about Mitch Massey's cover that he did for the last issue of If It Hops, and it's literally like he's got her, it's like almost like a role reversal, where instead of being a cop, she's like this surprised like cat burglar sitting on the other side of a fence, and these like cops are on the other side, like, but they're like Scotland Yard type of cops, like they've got these big old hats and stuff, and it's really, really interesting what they've done for each of these. So I'm really, really excited to see where everybody comes out each time. You know, like right now we've got Frog Legs, and some of the covers, like the
we can start showing them if you want.
Yeah, by all means. The
so we got that. This one I think is cover A, if I'm not mistaken.
Cover A, yep, for sure. And that was Alberty. Alberty's so awesome, man. He's a really good dude. He does all the interior artwork for that. And it's just so much fun.
And then I don't know what order they're in. So
you're so good, man. You're so good.
You're gonna have to figure it out.
And that's Blade and Hunters, gentleman down there at the corner. That's his cover. I love that cover, and I just, to me, when an artist goes out of their way to research what we were talking about, like if we're talking about voodoo and they go out of their way to research it and want to do something else with it, like that whole deal with like the dude hanging from those strings is such a cool concept, because you my friend are a gentleman that looks at the deeper things. So I love this concept, you know, like the playing with the puppet thing is very, very cool to me, because Celine is that person. She is the, you know, the chess
puppet
player.
master.
She is definitely the puppet master. She pulls all the strings. So
I'll say it in a nice way. Celine is the king and Bastion is the queen.
Yeah, basically. Absolutely. And he doesn't even know it. He has no idea. But he thinks he does. So it's a lot of fun with those two characters, the dynamic.
Like again, I'm gonna keep saying it. It's like I'm actually looking forward to reading your book. And that's the whole thing, is that I was explaining it to my mom, and I'm like, this actually seems really interesting to read. And I'm curious how this is all going to play out. And that's the thing, is that, I mean, not everything that you put out, no offense, catches me right in. I'm like, I got to read this. And this one is one of those things that I'm like, man, I got to read this thing.
I think that this one's going to be really amazing, especially when you get multiple issues in a row. Like when you're actually able to follow the arc. I think that's really where it's going to shine. I really do. This is one of those where I'm like, I can't wait by this time next year or whatever to have multiple issues of that particular book.
We've gone out of our way to, like, if you look at, you know, we'll look at Image. Okay. So if you look at Image back in the day, Image was known back in the day now for Spawn. That's what Image was known for. It was known for Spawn. We can talk about how many titles they had, whatever, but Image was known for Spawn. You know what I mean? That was what the company was. They had Ninja Turtles at one point, which was also a heavy hitter for them.
Youngblood.
Yeah, Youngblood was pretty popular too. Yeah, they were pretty, well, I don't know. There were a couple that were popular, but for the most part, most people knew them for X, X, or X, you know. And as a company, I've always been like, if we're gonna do it, we need to do it right. And every story is not for everybody. You know what I mean? There's never been an expectation where, unless it's the writing style, if people really are fans of my writing style or they're fans of our artists, whatever. But we appreciate the fact that we have a fan in anything. So when someone goes, oh, I'm not a big fan of horror stories, but I like this, you know, I'm like, cool. Well, if you like this, you may like this, but avoid that. I write it, but avoid it, because that's not going to be your bag. You know what I mean? That's not going to be something that you dig. And again, we appreciate the value of your dollar. So we don't want you to go out and pick up a book that you're not going to enjoy, you know, because that's not your type of thing.
Well, it's not even that. For me as a consumer, it's just I read it and I'm like, man, I'm hooked. In which
I love that.
That's the whole thing, is that it's not that Theater 7 isn't good and I wouldn't enjoy Theater 7. It didn't, like, you threw out a fishing rod and I was the bass that got caught, is the way I describe it. Like, and then you're just reeling me in very slowly. Like,
I love it. I love that. Well, I think C was our first big character that started people. You know, Agent C was, If It Hops was our biggest, you know, draw when our first big draw. You know what I mean? She was.
I would have attributed Babe Score and Dinosaurs, which came right before it.
BGD was very popular when it came out, but If It Hops was like, you can talk about BGD. People will know BGD. You know, you can be like, hey, have you seen Babe Score and Dinosaurs? People have heard of it. But when it comes to Agent C, people know the character. They're, hey, look, you know, that's the rabbit. You know what I mean? But that's reality. You know what I mean? When you start marketing a character, people recognize that character. I don't market Ricky. I market BGD. So people know the book. Whereas if I'm like, hey, did you see Ricky's last issue or what he was doing? People are like, what are you talking about? Oh yeah, BGD. You know what I mean? Where it's like, hey, have you seen that new issue of Agent C? People are like, oh yeah, that one with the rabbit. I know that one. And you're just like, yeah, you know, so that's all in the marketing and how we push the characters and, you know, what's really popping. Like when we put out Fallen Leaves was popping hard, and even you liked that, and you don't like elf books. So,
I hate that you made me love that book.
You know, so that book did really well. And when it comes to, you know, the different things, we're always trying to give people different types of stuff, you know, as well as increasing our own talent. So when you look at like April, or you look at Bladen, or you look at Greg Watson, or you look at Steph Wilson, I compliment them all the time because I feel like the more they do, the better they get. It's just like anything else. Well, that goes for me too. If I've never written something and then I start practicing writing it and I'm working on it, I get better at it, you know? So when we put out Theater 7, I was blown away by the book when I got it. Like I was like, man, it's so much better. I was terrified of it. And when I got it, I was like, I love this shit. This is great. You know, but you know, it's the same way with, like, again, we have 15 IPs. Every time we put out a brand new book, I'm like, oh my God, you know what I mean? How are people going to receive it? And people laugh because they act like, well, you're successful. Fuck that. Every new book is a new adventure. You know, like
there are people on Kickstarter who release a new book and they don't do as well as their first book. And,
for sure.
And it's rough. And there are people who struggle where, you know, you're releasing even the first issue does well, but the second issue falls off.
Absolutely.
And it's not easy. I mean, anytime you do something new, it could take a while for it to catch, or it could just not be the right combination. Happens all the time.
Catch it all. You know what I mean? Like we did Greed. And when we did Greed, I'm very happy about it. We're actually about to put out the 4th issue with the trade paperback. That book, it worried the tar out of me when we first started working on it, because I was like, I've never written a book with a kid character in it, like, ever. So, but we're also putting him with Lilith, like the Queen of Horrors. So it's like, how are you going to put this together? Are people going to dig it? What are people going to think? You know, and as long as we have the formula that people enjoy, which is our incredible art staff. I like to think that people read comic books. Like, I'd like to think they do. So every now and then I'll toot my own horn and be like, maybe they like the writing and it's not just the art. But it's something where I think that in this world of art, in this world of consumption, that we have to be original, we have to be different. And I like to go out and make sure that everything is refreshing. And it's, like, we've got Underland coming out. I don't know if you've seen anything about our series Underland.
I have not. I don't know anything about it. I'm sorry.
Oh no, don't be, dude, whatever. I mean, you're a busy guy and we put out a lot of content, so it's like, but Underland is like our take on Alice in Wonderland. And I knew that I wanted to do it because, I mean, I'd seen the other companies do it and I thought it was fun, but ours had to be a 1,000 times different, like 1,000 times different. And Liaris Cross does all the interior artwork and all the colors for that book. And it's beautiful, it's fun, it's silly, but at the same time, it's very, very serious. Like, her art style makes it look fun. Like, it looks so fun. When you get in there and you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. But it's something where, again, being as different as it is what sets it apart, because there's nothing like that in our library but that book, Same thing with, like, If It Hops. When Bladen did the first issue of If It Hops, I was, like, in total rapture with that book. Like, total rapture with that book. And then we put out issue 2, and it was the same feeling. You know what I mean? Same thing with BGD 1 through 4. I am in awe every time I see the books, and we like to be able to make people feel that way. If you spend your money, you should be happy with it. And I'm not going to name names or for companies, but I picked up some books the other day and felt like I had totally wasted my money. And it was a sad feeling because I'd been reading some of those books for like 30 years, so
There's been a few on Kickstarter that I felt that way, and I made it to issue 2 at $20 a pop, and then I was done. After issue 3, and I was like, I can't do it. I can't waste is the way I describe it.
That's it.
I don't want to waste $120 supporting somebody who is an acquaintance, maybe a little bit above acquaintance, but not a friend. Right. And you didn't get me after 2 issues. And I go away. And that was that. And I have no desire. And I don't understand the book. I don't understand anything of it. And I like to think that I have a pretty good wraparound comics. I like to think it as a fan. I like to think it. But what do I know, right? But it is what it is.
That's the mentality that's sad, right? That's the sad point right there. When you as a reader or a consumer feel like that you're lost, or no one wants to help you be found. That's how I view it. No one wants to help you and guide you through the situation or guide you through a story. I'm not saying people are ignorant ever, but it's nice to hold people's hand, to help them through an issue or to show them what you're trying to reach them or what you'd like the direction to go in. And if they can't find it, or if it's not gripping, well, then look at Batman right now. I'm a huge Batman fan, and I can't do it anymore. I just can't do it. Like, I just can't. There's too much going on half the time in a story that doesn't even make sense anymore, and you look at Spider-Man right now, huge Spider-Man fan. Can't do that anymore because the artwork. You know what I mean? There's all these aspects of things when nostalgia only takes you so far. It only takes you so far. So in a world of a bajillion Kickstarters, right? A bajillion Kickstarters. On my feed alone, I probably have 120 of them a month on my feed, on my Facebook feed. And I'll go through them and I'll support the people that work with us. You know what I mean? I'll support the people that work for us. But when it comes down to it, most of the time, I'm more or less comparing the product. You know what I mean? Is this comparable to what we're doing? Is it as good? Do I need to raise the level of what we're doing? You know what I mean? Is this, and you can also tell by quality as well by the artists that are tagged in it, the artists that are involved. Just little tips to save you, the time. Pay attention to the artist.
It's interesting because I take I guess a fourth approach, and I'm not comparing because I don't have comic out right now or anything of that nature. But I also look at the character of the person.
There you go, for sure.
It sounds crazy, but there is plenty of bad people who work with really talented people, and they are horrible, horrible human beings. So,
see, I don't know enough of the when it came to Kickstarter. I'm very grateful, right? Like, I'm very, very grateful because when I got into it, I had owned a comic shop. I had been selling comic books for 10 years, so it was like I already had this amazing system, if you will, like a setup of all these amazingly talented folks. Like I said, I wouldn't be in comics if it wasn't for Bud Root and Mike DeBalfo. I'd have never got into comics, making my own. But it was like when people start going, hey, look, maybe do this or maybe do that, and you start going, well, yeah, okay, you know what I mean? This works, that works. But I lucked out because I knew the industry, I knew people in it, and I didn't fall into the, I guess, like the indie rut is what it would be like.
For me, it's a necessity for me to know the politics of everything.
For sure.
Because when you run a show, it's different. And so I see all the infighting. I see all the dirt. I see all of the cattiness, and I see all the problems. And I've been a victim of some of it.
Right, yeah.
Some justly and some unjustly.
Right.
And so when I'm in that space, this is why I now have to say, are you a good person? Are you
you have a different perspective. You can see it differently because you're outside of the, like, what are they, outside looking in type of deal. You've been associated with all this stuff, so you have an idea of what goes on here, and here. Whereas after my first year, I secluded myself away from the indie world, and I only wanted to build a good company. Like, I didn't need to be associated with the indie community. Not that it's not a good community, whatever is good, you know what I mean? But I knew where we as a company needed to be. I wanted to bring on the best talent I could. I wanted to bring on, the best, team members that I could. And as we grow, like, we're on year 2 right now, and we've grown exponentially. And it's certainly not just because of me. It's because of all the amazing talent and the amalgamation of these people that are together and enjoy working together. And like I said, give a shit about one another. I got taken advantage of when I first started, and that was why I secluded myself away. It was like, I don't need to know about the things that are happening, because I'll say this, and I'll say it with all my heart, and I mean it, and anybody in the comic community can take it to heart. When I had one of my heroes come to me and was like, look, man, there's 1 million people trying to make comic books and only a handful of people in the industry. I was like, you know what? That's it. There's 1 million people trying to play pro ball, 1 million people trying to get that scholarship to get in there. But you know how many people succeed in making comic books in a year, 2 years? A handful. And that's the reality of it.
I view myself where there are people who are producing a product, and there's professionals.
That's right.
And it's how you conduct yourself. It's how you view things. It's how you want to run things. Doesn't mean I don't have mishaps, but I like to think that I want to act like a professional.
For sure.
And I expect to be treated that way. And this is one of my biggest pet peeves, is that if you don't want to come on my show, you should just tell me, because I'm not going to be upset. I'm like, cool, I'll hit you up in 6 months. And that's usually what I do. And there's been things where somebody's like, and then I hit them up 3 years later, they're like, oh man, like, hey, it's been a few years. What do you got going on? And then sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I would rather you tell me and I will find somebody else, or I will go and I will legitimately watch television at night.
Right? Honesty costs people nothing. Kindness costs people nothing. You know, when it comes to, like, right now, I mentioned earlier that Bladen is our art director. April is our project manager. You know, when it comes down to things, if we see on average probably 50 artists a week that are applying or looking for work, and I can't hire everybody. You know what I mean? First off. Second off, we're very, very strict about who we hire and who we bring on. But at the same time, I always give people my time. Like, if you go, hey, Dustin, you know, even though it's not how we like to do things, which I inform people of, if you send me your portfolio, I will look at it. I promise you that. I will look at it, or Bladen will look at it, or April will look at it. Somebody will see your portfolio. There's nobody ignoring you. But when I started, when we first started getting relatively successful, people wanted me to tell them that they had great artwork. You know what I mean? They always wanted to hear it. They wanted to hear they had great artwork, or they wanted me to help them write a book. You know, and they didn't want to pay me to help them write a book. They just wanted me to help them write a book. And it was those situations where that was part of the necessity of having April handle all the new talent, or, you know, because it got to this point where I couldn't open messages without people asking or demanding in situations that I look at their portfolio.
And then what happens that you don't want to open messages, and then
Right.
you miss something that is actually relevant. Like somebody
Absolutely.
saying, hey, you know, I'm a retailer and I would love an exclusive.
For
or
sure.
An interview, or somebody saying, hey, you know, I want to order a bunch of comics where I don't want an exclusive, but I want to order 100 comics from my store.
Right.
And then they don't know how to get in touch with you elsewhere.
Right. But with the way that social media works, and they beat me up about this all the time. I'm very kind. So when it comes to people, I do legitimately try to get to them, you know, and but there's, situationally speaking, where when you're building a company, like, that's why guys like you know, Ryan or Mike or, you know, Ebbas, or anybody you talk to, you could, I mean, your Jim Lee's, your anybody else that has social media, they have people run their social media accounts. You know what I mean? Because they filter your social media. That should probably be something I do, but I love talking to our fans. Like, I legitimately open myself to that. So there's, you know, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't, either way, because I love talking to people because I appreciate their feedback. Like, we have folks right now that I'll randomly send them scripts that I know. I'll be like, hey, look, do you want to read this? You know what I mean? Do you want to get in a little bit ahead of time? Do you want to, you know what I mean? Let me know what you think. Because again, not just valuing your dollar, but I value your time. So I don't want you to read something you're not going to enjoy. And if feedback from 5 different people says X, I'm probably going to change X, you know, to make sure that, you know, 5 out of 5 generally isn't wrong. You know what I mean? So I'll change this to, you know, better suit what those individuals have, the feedback we've gotten from them. But yeah, it's interesting and it's fun, and being able to talk. The social media has made it so that we can speak to people freely and comfortably. All that we ask is a modicum of respect, like, for yourself as well. You know, when people come on your show, we ask that they respect you when they come on your show. You know, so just a little bit of, you know, pro quo. You know, hold my hand gently at the ball. You don't have to push me down. You know what I mean? It's like those things where we're all here to assist each other.
Yeah, well, that's something that doesn't happen, and I've been the victim of that
sure.
last week. So it was not pleasant. It was not pleasant, to say the least.
I'm sorry. I really am.
I'm sorry too. My mom is also sorry, because it was collective, and everybody who knows is sorry because it's
Right.
bad. But it's over. It's over. So that's
Right.
the important part. I only need to be burned by the stove once to learn not to touch it when it's hot.
Hey, man, for sure.
That's how I view it. But yeah, this is another cover.
Oh,
Man, so Lewis, oh my gosh, Lewis, that was so fun. He April actually had Lewis get Lewis's cover colored twice. And we did the day and the night covers for that. And they were just so pretty.
The colors. He does a marvelous job. I was so pleased, and it was a bit of a surprise. I had given the option. I'm like, oh, you can do anything you want with the background. You can do a day scene, a night scene. You can do her in the voodoo makeup. Here's an example of what we're looking for, so it doesn't look like Day of the Dead kind of thing. And I was just surprised when I got such wildly different versions. I'm like, oh my goodness, you went all out. This one totally looks like it would just be amazing in that hollow foil sheen, where the brightness of those oranges and yellows would just like activate. The greens would just activate.
I'm not changing it. I'm just letting you know.
Huh? No. I'm just saying that, like, I was just blown away. Like, I was surprised at how beautiful it came out. Don't change. They're all good. You can't go wrong. Plus, the story on the inside's the same, no matter which version you get. But yeah, no, that I think my favorite out of all of them is the Vic Moya Jesse Heggie one. Oh my gosh!
I'm going to show them all because I don't know which one is which.
The Vic Moya
it's the big scaled snake one.
Oh, I think is it this one?
Oh no, not that one. That was good. Yeah, but no, it's the snake is tangled around her. The large scales.
It's got the skulls on it.
Kind of like a blue.
That's not that one.
In the background.
That
one.
Yeah, we found it. We found it, guys.
Yeah, that one's amazing. That one throws me back to like the 90s, where you have like the great lines, the amount of detail, that fire and artifact around like the wax and skulls, and it wasn't until I saw it in color that I noticed the blood scripts in the background on the brick wall, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's impressive to see it in black and white. And then there is that background, midground, foreground thing going on that amped up with the color. I was just like, holy cow.
Yeah, I love that one. Ugh, it's ridiculous.
And then there's this one too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that one looks sweet in a foil as well.
Yeah, we talked about that one in foil. Yeah, the Sean
glow in the dark.
Yeah, glow in the dark would be cool with it.
Right.
Or like a spot foil just on the green. Like that.
Yeah, that'd be dope. Yeah, Sean Forty is an incredible artist. He's been on a team for about a year. He does. He's most well known for the Do You Poo stuff. He does a lot of Do You Poo variants, and really, really cool guy. He works over there with Marat Michaels and stuff. Great dude. Marat's a great dude too. But yeah, they do. He does a lot of really badass poo covers too.
And then obviously there's nothing without Steph. I think this is the first time I've ever seen a guy in a Steph Wilson cover.
It's the first one I've ever seen. So I think it's a lot of fun. He gave me so much shit about Bastion's bun. And I remember just thinking, now we got to do hair flips because like hair flips,
unnecessary hair flips. I mean, if we have like wardrobe malfunctions for our ladies, we can certainly have a hair flip for a man.
With you.
All right,
I'm with you.
Just saying, that's a fan service for the ladies out there.
Fan service for the ladies. Speaking of that, I got the Release the Lizard variants for BTD in today.
I'm mad that Bladen beat me to it.
Yeah, Well, like that book it's funny because we were doing a live show, Andrew, and we were asked if, because we do all these nude female characters, if we do nude male characters. And I was like, well, I don't have any problem with that. I just haven't done it. You know what I mean? And the particular was Ricky. Yeah. Well, I have
half the book.
BGD2 had the, Ricky's dick in it, but I got BGD3 in yesterday, and it's got that cover on it with his big ass red dick on the cover, and it was just like, it was funny to me how many people, we put it out there wondering how many people would pick it up, and more people bought that cover than I was expecting, which was super funny to me.
Hey, look, my favorite comic book of all times is the Robotech swimsuit edition. Because it has men and women in it. Nice. And I love it. I think it's brilliant. I think it's funny. And I like the fact the center of the book has different paper and has Lin Min-Mei on as a centerfold. And it's just so brilliant. The whole book is so brilliant. It's not expensive. And it's a brilliant concept. And I think it was like Eclipse Comics did it back in the day.
Oh, man. I used to love Eclipse back in the day, man.
Smart.
They used to do so many good books. They did the vampire book, and I've never been a vampire book fan except for Anne Rice's stuff. But they did this crazy vampire book that was really, really cool. But I was young, I was young, and I wasn't allowed to read that stuff anyway at the time. So I thought I was the shit because I had the vampire comic book, and none of my friends had anything like that. But but no, it was a conversation where, we were asked if we would do that. And it was people wanted to know how big, Ricky's was, because he's an 8.5 foot tall, Saurian. So they were like, how big is it? And it was just it was a fun conversation because I wasn't expecting it. I can talk with the best of them, but I was caught speechless because I was not expecting the question, I wasn't prepared for it. And then it got even deeper, this question, because I was
what she said.
That is exactly what she said, because it was good friend Nita Lanning asking me these questions. So I was like, yeah, we can do that. And she was like, well, is he cut? And I about fell out of my chair because I was not prepared.
This was supposed to be a family-friendly show tonight. It was clearly supposed to be that.
Oh no!
Sorry.
Well,
I'm clearly joking, everybody.
Yeah. I was like, well, I have broken the wall on that one on accident. But no, it was
after
so
Steph Wilson came on a year ago. It was broke. It was broke after Steph came on, and it was great. It was great.
He's so funny. He's so funny. And Carrie Ann, they are such lovely people, really lovely people. But no, we got drug into it, and Bladen and I were like, well, let's go to town, man. So the entire issue of the second issue of BGD, Ricky's nude through the entire issue. He's almost the entire, true. First 3 pages he's not. But they
so out of a 30-page book.
Out of a 30-page book.
Come out of nowhere and do that. You got to set it up.
Yeah, we were prepared, So no, it's what was the hashtag that they were putting out for that last year? It was hashtag Dinosaur John Wick. But it was he was in a sauna, and he was just, and then, our main antagonist approaches him in the sauna and so on and so forth. So he's going at it with these dudes in the sauna, but it was super, super funny when people started getting the book and they were like, we expected, this and got this, and we're so happy with it. And, it was a good situation. It was a good way for Bladen and I to also, dip our toes into things that we may or may not have been prepared for or thought we were prepared for. And the fan base, again, man, I listen to you guys religiously. So when people come in, they have ideas or they want to see things from us, I listen, because it's important. I feel like if people listened more to their fans now, like Marvel and DC, they'd be in a better situation, but
I would also be a lot richer, but that's not the point.
yeah, there you go.
Hey, I made a good call. I bought a bunch of AT&T shares. I got that spin off. It's all good.
There you go. But we enjoy showing the different aspects of different types of characters. Right now with BGD 4 coming out and the trade paperback for that coming out very, very shortly. Jesus. That's the next actual campaign that we've got. We've also got a new idea to do, since we're putting out so much content. We've started talking about just doing one campaign a month, but all the products on the campaign, so that it saves you on shipping, it saves you on all kinds of things, because in reality, like right now, it's on average, because we don't use media mail. I refuse to. I think it's bullshit. So normally we charge $7 to $8 for the first box, you know what I mean? And then after that, it's like $1 a book or 50 cents a book or whatever it is. But it's because the box is what's expensive. You know what I mean? You get to this, that's where they charge you. They're like, hey, look, it's, $7 for a flat rate, whatever. And anyway, with the Gemini in it. So we're thinking it may be better for folks to be able to just plan out their ethereal order at the beginning of the month. But I like the idea, it's something I've been throwing it around, but April was big into it, and she's been thinking about it a lot, because if you look at like what were they, the Funko boxes and stuff that you would get, you get your Funko box every month or whatever, your Marvel box, or and we were like, man, wouldn't it be really cool for everybody to be able to just go, hey, instead of running 3-week campaigns, we run a 4-week campaign, but we run it with all the products that we're putting out the month. If there's 15 titles, or not 15 titles, but 15 covers, the cool thing about now is Kickstarter is updated. So now that when you go to your add-ons, you can actually see pictures of the images in the newer campaigns. So you'll be able to just go in and go like a store. Instead of it being so difficult to read, it'll be very, very simple. The UI is changing a lot. So you'll literally just be able to go in like a regular website. And then if you miss out, our website that we've had for a while has gotten a revamp, and it looks great. And so we'll be adding all the new product on there. I do keep product on hand. That's another thing that we like to do, so people don't have to stress. Like, nobody wants to have to wait for a reprint or, for the books to be found when they order them. So I always have a stock of, 20, 30 of each book on hand in case anybody's looking. Because I hate have like hunting books that I know I'm never going to find, right? Like, I cannot stand that shit. So for my personal collection. So like with us, I always want things to be accessible. Like, I won't sell store exclusives because they're store exclusives, but if you're looking for a cover A or a cover B and it's not limited, there's chances I have it. I don't keep limiteds because I don't think it's fair to stores or anything like that. So I don't try to sell our limiteds, but I will sell cover A's and cover B's. I have our skate decks. I have our, our
I
blanks.
forgot you had those.
Yeah, skate decks are dope. Bladen did some beautiful skate decks. Do you have any of those left?
Yeah, I still have 2.
Oh man, we'll put them on the Kickstarter in the next one. That'll be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're beautiful. Holy shit. And he does them all by hand, right? So we don't screen print on our skate
Yeah,
deck.
it's all originals each.
Yeah, you're not going to get any more original than that. We've also got, like I said, plenty of original art for all the books. April, the lucky dog up there, all her original art flies. I don't know how the hell that works, but every cover she puts out, it immediately goes. So if you're looking for original ethereal cover art from April, make sure you're watching these campaigns because they go silly. But yeah, man, Andrew, I'm at least hoping I've answered some questions, man, because
we accomplished nothing tonight. It's crystal clear, right? I say it all the time. I say, if you watch my show, you will not get smarter. You might, but you will
That's
be
because you're
entertained.
lacking tequila.
Lacking tequila.
That makes
That might
you
be what it
smarter.
is.
It sure
I
does.
love her hair. Look at the hair that you're doing on that. That is awesome, man.
Oh, Jim and the Holograms is awesome. You know who does great hair?
Who's that?
Jen Brumel.
She does. Incredible hair.
She's got to finish her shit so we can get her back.
Yeah, yes.
I am so far out of this conversation in my comic writing. I'm on page 3 of my script, 3 pages in.
Dude, but that's a start. Like we had a very real heart-to-heart conversation the other night about the listener and where I would be if I had not put that book out. If I had not put that book out, I would not be writing at all.
I'm very, very honest about my position. I am a weekend writer. So I do not write during the week. I am busy prepping up a bunch of other stuff, running my eBay business, and there is no time. So I will sit on Saturday night and write for 2 hours. And that's the only time I have. So I could bang out maybe 2.5 pages, 3 pages maybe. And then, it's going to have to be edited, beat down, revamped, but it's a starting point. And I'm looking forward to the process. I am at least 12 months out from producing anything. But
when it comes to scripts, I truthfully am grateful because I think that's the easiest thing for me personally. But when I sit down with something, I'll bang out a book in 3 or 4 hours, like a whole book, and it's not edits or anything like that. You know what I mean? I'll have the bones down in 3 or 4 hours, and but it's funny because the more you do it, just like anything else, the better you get at it and the faster you get at it. And look at Bladen. He just rocked out a Ricky in 5 minutes flat.
There's nothing good happening here tonight. I'm not feeling it.
I know.
I'm sorry. It's me.
You're lacking tequila too.
Yeah, he needs tequila too. He'll feel better.
No, I'm just saying that I tend to overestimate things because I've learned a very valuable lesson. Under promise, over deliver.
There you go. Absolutely.
So if I say I'm 12 months out and then I get it done in 6, I'm like, dude, you're a genius.
There you go. Right on. Well, that's how I feel about the extra 6 pages that we put out. I always, and again, that's 6 additional pages you guys don't have to pay more for. I'm very happy with that, because to me, if you look at it, my normal comic book or a normal comic book is 24 pages. So when we hit X amount of dollars on our campaigns, we're literally adding a whole nother quarter of that book for you for nothing, full color pages of story. And I always get excited about them because I always do weird shit with those 6 pages. When it comes to Babe Scoring Dinosaurs, we have a story that is only seen in the back of those 6 pages per book. And it's literally about a serial killer, and it's a lot of fun. With Greed, we use those 6 pages to give you guys backstory on some of the main characters, and it's just something where I'm going to kill the cat. Hold on.
Yes. Eat the baby.
Get down there. Eat the cat, more like.
Well, I call you Alf.
Yeah, Alf, absolutely. But we always try to give you guys more than we would have. If It Hops was huge for us in that regard, because it was the first time where Blade and I were like, man, I'm going to put out main characters' first appearances in this additional 6 pages. And it was just so if you look at If It Hops, the first appearances for Agent C are in the preview book that we put out. And we only did 100 of those. So it was the full edition later is your Wolverine argument. You know what I mean? The characters already had her first appearance, though. It was in a preview edition. And so we decided we'd do Agent K and Ryoshi in the same book, but in the last 6 pages of the issue. And people ask, and they're like, where do we find it? Where do we find it? Issue one. There's the characters are in there.
So,
Do what?
okay, I don't. Have a good night.
All right, later, bud.
Bye.
So
So-
to even talk about that, because
Mhm.
there's the investor in me, and obviously I buy and sell a lot of comics.
Uh-huh.
I run a business. I'm in the process of expanding it.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, and this is where it gets interesting: is you're now labeling yourself and your company with these extra preview pages.
Yep.
If it's the first appearance, that adds value.
Absolutely.
I released a TikTok and it's on YouTube Shorts. Is that one of the things is that everything now can be turned into a movie, television show, an animated series. Everything's on the table. Whether it gets to that point or not, it is up in the air. But everything's on the table. 5 years ago, it wasn't on the table. I feel.
Well, it's so another thing. If you look at when you talk about stuff like that, if you look at the fact that look at The Last of Us, right? Okay, Last of Us was a video game first, and then it was a comic book, so on and so forth. But that's also happened in the reverse order for things as well. If you look at your Tank Girl, your Ninja Turtles, whatever, what have you. Nowadays, though, you have these companies that are literally kicking the shit out of each other to get IPs from independent publishers. Netflix versus Hulu, and Hulu less now because Disney owns the majority of stock, so it's more Netflix and Peacock, or Netflix, Peacock, and HBO, but they all are fighting for different people to come in.
I'll throw you another company that's in the mix, Paramount.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
Paramount's in the mix because of Nickelodeon.
Absolutely.
And it's not that far fetched, and it's crazy.
No, but you look at things like we joked about. I had a buddy that was on the Lord of the Rings show, and he lived over in New Zealand, and he was he was doing all kinds of artwork for me while he was over there on the show and showing people the scripts and stuff like that. And it's funny because that's how things happen. You know what I mean? On accident, or if you just have to be in the right place, the right time. And to me, as we grow and we put out stories, like if you look at The Walking Dead, right? The Walking Dead was out for many, 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 many years before the show came out, and next thing you know, that first appearance, that issue number 1 where Rick is standing in front of that storefront, is all of a sudden a banger, when no one gave a shit about it for the longest time. And now the show comes out, and it's like, here we are, I
can tell you another banger is Ultimate Fallout 4.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a story about it. Crazy story. I'm in Midtown for Free Comic Book Day in New York City because I live on the East Coast, and they're giving away polybagged first appearances of Ultimate Fallout 4 for free.
Uh-huh.
And then fast forward, it's now, what is it, like a $600 book?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, all these people have got this book for free.
That's it.
Mint condition, and then it became a crazy book. And then another book that could potentially be a banger is Canto 1. Canto 1 can be a banger for two reasons. A movie's coming, and B, 60% of the print run is a disaster of the first print run. So
well, I mean, that went along. That was in the time period where that book was doing a lot of exclusives with Books A Million when it first came out. That's why they were destroyed for the most part. And then you also, at that point, J. Scott Campbell had done a Star Wars #1 cover, and it was a Hot Topic exclusive that was all supposed to be destroyed. So Star Wars was very much in the limelight at that point in time. Because again, you were getting your #1s. They had put out that Leia series as well. There was a lot of stuff. And so the reason we don't do previews anymore, even though they were wildly successful, like amazing successful, and we were very thankful, is because of that exact reason. We don't ever want people to feel like they have to fight right now at this point in time to get a first appearance, because I don't agree with it. I don't agree that that's okay. I've said it since the beginning. It's never been about being rich. It's about making a company that you can be proud to support.
It's interesting because your intention was to do something cool, but then you saw
Mhm.
how the market responded and you didn't like it.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not going to go into to what happened this Saturday, but I didn't like the way something was going on, and I removed myself from a
For
situation.
sure.
And it's a very complicated thing. And even when I potentially do a comic, which is up in the air, but I'm at least 12 months out conservatively. If all of a sudden I don't want to do something, or if I don't want to ever make somebody feel like they missed an opportunity of
Mhm.
like a cover A. And so it's really interesting that you have tried to do something and then you didn't like the way the market reacted. I find that
It's something where, again, I want to be able to sleep at night and feel good about myself. You know what I mean? It's never like, we are not in the market to be a flash in the pan. That is not something we want. So when you say X amount of first appearances there's only 100 of them in the world, it's like, yeah, that's cool, but at the same time, I would much rather you be able to get that first appearance and have that first appearance and be happy with it than the preview edition. Like I mean, when we did, it wasn't If It Hops that turned me onto it. It was actually Fallen Leaves that turned me onto it, because the popularity of the book. And I was like, you know what? I really love this story. I love that it's emotionally charged. I love that people are digging it, you know. And I love that I got to go balls to the wall with my own emotions in that particular story. And for people to come out and be like, hey, I want to get my hands on it, and me to go, cool, yeah, I've got a few left. And it dawned on me that I would not print those previews again. And I was like, you know what? Let me make sure I get at least one to you. You know what I mean? I'm not charging extra for it or any stupid thing like that. Let me just make sure I get you one, because it's one of those situations where, yes, the early bird catches the worm, as they say. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I remember, like, when it was the Ninja Turtles IDW run where Rocksteady and Bebop kill Donatello, like, quote unquote kill Donatello. And that was their way of bringing Metalhead into Ninja Turtles for IDW. And I remember having to run from shop to shop to shop to find a book that was actually a very large print run. You know what I mean? And people were flipping them left and right. And I remember being so pissed off about it, because it took me forever to get my hands on a copy. Even though I did get it in a store, it took me like weeks to get to a store that had it. And I really wanted to change our mentality on that, and I wanted to change the perspective of people that were doing stuff like that. Like, we look at using Ninja Turtles again as another example. Right now, Target just had their haul-a-thon, right? And it's absolute bullshit. It's the biggest, like, cash grab I've ever seen in my entire life.
What's it
What
called?
they do, it's called haul-a-thon, like
Like a
HOUL, like you're hauling something.
Oh, okay.
And what they do is they have a contract with NECA, and we used to be NECA vendors, so I still get the emails and stuff. And what they do is they get new pops that are exclusive, and they also get new figures that are exclusive to Target from NECA. And as a vendor of any sort in comic books, people will see NECA's name all over the place. So, but what they do is they have these limited run action figures. So with Haulathon, what they've done is they go, oh yeah, Target's going to have them this date, this date, and this date. Okay? Not what Target's going to have which ones or anything like that. Or not that their employees can't buy them, which they do in droves. And they also have the ability to allow their buddies to know when stuff's going to get there early. And instead of paying $40, which is to me high for a regular figure anyway, not a limited figure. So instead of paying like $40, now you're paying $90 to $100 aftermarket to get your hands on these. It's bullshit. It's the same thing in the comic community. It's one of those things where, yes, it's cool that we got a 1-in-1 exclusive or a 1-in-25 exclusive, whatever. But and flipping the market is great. Totally understand it. But I don't want people to have to fight for our books. Okay, that's what it is at the end of the day. Again, it's about their time, it's about their money. I don't want you to have to struggle to find something that's going to bring you joy. If we've created it and it can bring you joy, then I want you to have it. I don't want it to have to be something where you can't get it. Like our exclusives, our limited editions, most of them are $50. Like if you want it, there's a pretty good chance you can get it if you want it that bad. You know what I mean? It's like same thing with store exclusives. Again, $50. I don't want to do a normal $50. You know what I mean? Some people do smaller than that, but they have an idea for that. They have a reasoning for it. That's just a cover. It's not the first, like a first appearance. You know, it's a cover. It's a variant. You know, if you want a first appearance, you should be able to get it. You know, like them bringing out the reprinting the Wolverines stuff, the Hulk 181s, or reprinting the Ultimate Fallouts. I think that's great. You know, I think it's
like
great.
a face smile or fast smile or whatever it is. I think it's fun. I think it's a good time.
Yeah, people get to read it. They may have never got to read it before. You're talking about bringing out books for a generation that never would have gotten to read those books. I love that. I think it's great. So for us to do the previews, it seemed to me personally different than I wanted us to be viewed as. So we stopped the previews with the last one being for Fallen Leaves issue 1. And again, it was fun and people enjoyed them. We did different cover art for them, so you're not getting like a you're not getting a duplicate cover art. You're getting, you know, something different. You know what I mean? You know,
I think it's interesting. I mean, I'm definitely a flipper and I participated in it. I've also been the victim of it. And I get it, and it happens. I used to be a big Funko collector.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it
for sure.
happens in Funko, and it sucks, and they sell out like that on Hot Topic, and it
Right.
sucks.
You just you want the one, you know, because especially if you're a big fan of something, and then you're having to pay 100% over aftermarket, and I'm okay with variants being like that if people, but at the same time, I don't want people not to be able to get a book. That's the bottom line. If like right now, with Fallen Leaves, you got introduced to our main character, and then in issue 2, you know, you get introduced to a group of characters. And I was like, man, I'm having too much fun with people being able to get the books and enjoy the books versus you know, the flippers going, hey, look, I need to flip the book, you know, and I appreciate their game. I do appreciate it. I just, as a creator, I value you more than I value the fight for people to get our product. You know what I mean?
It's interesting, and look, you know, I mean, I run a business, and I deal with a lot of exclusives with Zenoscope and other companies.
Sure.
And you know, if an exclusive just gets out of hand, I mean, I don't know what to say about it. But it's also different because the exclusive you can get in a cover A with
Right.
Zenoscope, and so
absolutely, that's what I'm getting at. You should always be able to get the cover A. There should never be a problem getting a cover A. If when I was talking about the Donatello, it was literally a cover A and a cover B that were being just mauled at every shop that I could find. And you know, I think that happened with the death of Master Splinter 2 in the IDW stuff. It was
that's also happened with Saga 1, but that
yeah,
happened
absolutely. Well,
That
then
happened
what?
later.
Saga's been reprinted 7 times now, 8 times.
That is true. That is true. Actually, I'm going to rescind my position now that I think about it. Saga 1, it's had a second printing, a third printing, a ninth printing.
Right?
And,
Yeah.
I mean, Star Wars, when it came back to Disney, had so many printings. And I'll be very honest.
For sure.
I think the fourth printing of that first cover was way cooler because they did it in red and it was sweet. I
love that. I mean, I love that because not only are you incentivizing the growth of the industry again, but now you're again another group of people can pick it up that weren't able to pick it up before.
Well, I honestly thought that when they did the different variations of color for that first issue for the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth printing, I thought that was way cooler because now you're showing, Luke, Leia, and Vader and Han Solo in red.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool. Like, don't you want to take a picture and have that in your collection? Like, way cooler than white.
Look at another fun one that was done was actually the Killing Joke. Had different colors for their printings.
I don't know this. I don't know this guy. This is new to me. This is actually really interesting.
The Killing Joke, Batman's The Killing Joke, actually had the original cover it had the writing in green, and then another print had the writing in like orange. Another one had a different color, like lime green writing. I think there was a blue one too. It had a bunch of different ones. I remember I'm coming through the shop going, "What is going on?" Because again, that book wasn't printed at that time period, so it was just showing up in collections, and you'd see the different ones. And again, I'm super cool with people collecting variants. I love them. We put out like 12 to 13 per issue. I love variants. I just want people to be able to get, if it's a unlimited run book, people should be able to get it. I don't think it should be a problem. I reached out to a large company recently, and April actually helped me do it because I was looking for a book myself. And they basically were like, no, and I'm like, but it's an unlimited run book. Why can't I order it if it's unlimited? And I had to wait like 4 months for an order from Books A Million to actually get my hands on the book. But because I guess
showed up.
It did show up.
Awesome.
And but the weird thing is I got refunded because it took so long to show up, and then it showed up anyway. And I was like, well, all right, Books A Million, thank you so much. But I was very, very happy with it.
Is it a title you want to share? Is it a book title you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. It was the IDW collection, the Ninja Turtles collection, Volume 3. It's the blue cover. They only had one cover for it. It was Leonardo's face. And the books are done amazingly. They're like 450, 500 pages. I mean, they're bricks, and they're beautifully made, and they're like $49.99 a pop, right? But Aftermarket had that book for $150 on Amazon, and I was like, I'm not paying that. That's dumb. So I'm going to reach out to IDW and be like, hey, bud, what's up? Because you can order from them directly. A lot of people don't know that. So I was like, I'm just going to ask them, see if I can order it. And they were like, well, no. And I was like, well, okay, that's lame. It's unlimited print, says it on the thing. So I reached out to Books A Million, and Books A Million was like, we don't have it. And for like 4 months, they just kept sending me these emails saying they didn't have it, they didn't have it, they didn't have it. And it showed up in shrink wrap, and I was happier than a pig in shit. So, it was quite an experience for me. So I always want you as an individual to be able to get our product. If you decide,
I thought you were going to take a very different approach to that. I thought you were going to say, I always want you as an individual to be happier than pig wrong and shit.
Well, that too. You know what I mean? I always want everybody.
When? Let me finish. When you get our product.
Yeah, I love that. Like we we talked earlier about the different types of product that we put out and the different things to make us different and stand out. I actually have one of the pillows. here with the implants in it.
Why not? We're already far enough.
Hey, man, I had to know what it would look like and feel like before I decided to sell it to people. So I have one here. I actually have a couple of them that are still in the wrappers, but hey.
I clearly, thank God I don't have sponsors. Thank God.
Well, you know what? It would be a whole new set of sponsorship.
We do, and they, like I said, they're there. They're in the wrong spot right now because they moved, but they exist. Those big old G's, they are G's. They're G's. They're $150 a piece.
I think that I should reach out to Healthy Mail after this interview.
Yeah. Either that or take a hot shower. I do that to people.
Well, only if you do an unnecessary hair flip.
Unnecessary hair flip. But so what we do with them is they're $125. Our pillowcases. And then you can order from us implants from size A to G. And they're amazing. Hey, man. You got to be outside the box. Or inside the box, if you prefer.
I don't judge. I don't judge. After everybody who's been on my show,
that's when you get into the red label territory.
No, there's nothing dirty about it. It's just a pillowcase.
Oh, no.
It's whatever. I have a perfect model for you for the G cups. I have a perfect model for you. More than happy to introduce you.
Right on.
Madison. More than happy.
Well, we do also we also do nude cosplay covers. So, we've got a couple of those. Morgan Bailey is our elf model. So she's great. And then Karen Nicole models with us too for cosplay covers. So, we do quite a few cool covers like that. But again, we put out something for everybody. There's always something going on. Like I said, we've got like 13-inch Agent C statues right now that are I think mine's downstairs, or I would show it to you, but
I prefer not to see your statue standing at attention.
No, it's not. Ooh, no.
Oh no, it's actually like one of those. It's not bendable, right? No, it's like one of those that you'd find on the shelves.
Yeah, it's like a sideshow statue. It's huge. It's really cool. So Agent C, and she's clothed.
Yes. In an action pose.
I don't judge.
Action pose.
I am beyond the point today. We have clearly crossed a whole new line. That's true either.
I had to top Steph Wilson. You know what I mean? That was my goal.
No, I don't think people can top Steph Wilson. Between Bella Rockefeller and Bella Madison and Jim Noble. I mean, those three right there.
Yeah, I don't know that I can top any of them. That's a whole
howdy.
That's a whole different can of worms there, man. I don't know that I can. I don't know about that, but
it was a very, very interesting interview with Bella Rockefeller. And
I imagine it is.
Very, very interesting individuals. Very interesting. And Jim Noble is Jim Noble. So there you go.
Right, for sure.
Mr. 100+ covers.
Yeah, I can't do that I think we've probably got 500 now between all the books. We've probably got 500 covers.
Oh, fucking God, I don't know how you do it, man. I have no idea how you do it. Oh, you're like the neatest thing.
That's between all of them, though. That's not. I mean, you have to think we've got what 20 books we've put out. So, I mean,
there's a filing system.
Yeah, there's a good filing system there. So there's probably about 500 covers.
The post-April year is better than the pre-April year.
I agree with that. You're not gonna. The pre-April years gave me this gray streak I've got recently. So that's how I got that. Post-April makes sure I don't have to color it. So.
It's amazing, but obviously I didn't even show half the covers. all I'm going to say is that get this in a foil, everybody. You
Get
can
it in a
make
foil.
any cover.
Better yet, get it in a metal.
Ooh.
You can do that too. You can do that too.
You certainly can. Yeah. And come next year, you'll be able to order them as blankets. But, we'll see.
We can't give them everything. We can't give them everything at once without hurting them.
That's exactly right. So we have to dole it out little bit by little bit. We gave you pillows last year. Now you're getting, blankets next year. I mean,
Awesome.
I'm excited. This year we've also found out that we can give you guys full-size movie poster covers. So, there's all kinds of fun stuff.
That's actually pretty cool. That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
Seriously, movie size posters, all that's cool. That's cool. I like that. That's
We hadn't done that before. We're stoked about that, and we're the print packs that we're doing now we're really excited about. We had not done that till recently, so now that any cover you can actually buy the print pack. I think it's like $150. It's got every single cover in it as a 11x17. So that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I'm way just there's a price point for everybody. This is the
That's
only
it. You got it.
There's a price point for everybody. I have a budget, clearly.
That's it. No, hey man, you too. Don't feel bad. I definitely do. Like there's times when I want to go, man, that original art, I'd love to keep that. And then it's like, nope, not allowed to do that. But like I said, we're here shortly. We're gonna do with the next campaign. We'll have a bunch of original art available, and we always try to make our original art also at a price point that people can afford. Because as a buyer, a seller, a collector, I always thought it sucked in my my 20s to walk through a show and see all these amazing pieces and not be able to afford them. So we're definitely making them, affordable with like $125 for an original piece of art. April is doing some blank sketch covers. Bladen is doing some blank sketch covers. We try to make it accessible to all different ranges of people. Just again, because if it wasn't for the fans, we wouldn't exist. And I think that's the most important thing, most important takeaway that I could give to any young up and coming creator is remember that there is no you without them.
There's a great position by Chris Nunez, who's a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
It was Ink Master, and it was the idea that they presented all of the contestants with difficult clients, and he said, if you don't tattoo, you don't eat today.
Right.
And what he was referring to is that your job is to make a client happy, and that if you don't fulfill their need and their desire and they're difficult, well, you're not going to eat today. And that's, I think, what a lot of creators need to understand is that if you don't make me happy as a fan and as a customer, you're not going to eat today. And that's what it is with a lot of things. And that's how I run my eBay business. And I think it's a big, big thing that people need to remember. But
a lot of people have also never worked in the service industry. You know what I mean? So I think that's a huge takeaway for folks. If you can be polite to people, look, man, it's your job to be polite to everybody. It's your job. Be polite to everybody. Again, it takes nothing to show kindness. So like, I mean, you go through situations and there's going to be people where 1 out of every 5 or 6 reviews is not going to be the review you want, because people are all different, So if you have a situation where you get a reader that is, let's say that you get a dude that picks up If It Hops and he does not like anthropomorphic characters at all. Like that is not his bag. He hates it. Before he picks that book up, you've lost already. You know what I mean? You've already lost. So the objective is to win that reader over with your storytelling. Like we've got one of the best compliments I ever got was from oh my gosh, another hero of mine. But he was like, you forget that by page 4 you're reading about a rabbit. Like you've already forgotten, and that to me is an incredible compliment, because we're already, pushing truth outside the window. So if we can get you to the point where you've forgotten that you're reading about a rabbit, that's what's up. Because now she's a normal human being, or she's a normal character.
There's a great book, Catch It One. It does it. Catch It
Right?
One does that, and it's brilliant, and it's one of the best anthropomorphic books out there, right behind Mouse.
So that's a pretty amazing compliment. So when you're doing that, and you've got these people that are coming in to review something, but you already know that they don't enjoy that product, don't take that to heart. That's not against you. That's a style. That's a type of product that they don't appreciate. So if you get a negative review, whatever, you're going to have them. They're going to come out. Not everybody likes everything that you're going to put out. Like, again, with 15 IPs, I got fans, I'm sure, that don't like all of them. You know what I mean? It's just the nature of the beast. So we have to roll with that, and we have to put out books, and we have to make sure that, again, if you haven't worked in the service industry, look, at 15 years old, I worked at Zaxby's and got treated like shit every day, like every day. And it was like, but you still had to give people the good food. You still had to give them good service. So, like, that's how I look at everything in my life. I'm always going to give you the best of myself that I can give you. I mean, this is my full-time job. So this puts a roof over my kids' head and food in their mouth. So again, look, man, I'll take the punches, if that's what it takes to make my business better. That's just the reality of it. Yeah. Wow. 2 hours and 10 minutes, man. We've been having fun with you tonight.
I would say we should talk about Samus Aran, but I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, she's around here somewhere.
I think that's a new one from the last time we hung out.
No, I've had this one for years now.
Oh, wow. I guess I didn't see it, but I think it's funny.
Yeah, the Samus and Cammy and Rogue, Mary Jane. I mean, I've got a Jessica Rabbit on my calf. I've got a
See, I like the fact that it's Samus. I like the fact that her tits are out.
Yeah, well, like you said, I got a 12-year-old girl. She's got to know how powerful women are.
I absolutely love that tattoo. But anyway, I digress. I absolutely dig it. There is an expensive Samus statue that I'm eyeing.
Oh, yeah.
$700 to buy. So,
well, I mean, if it's a sideshow piece, I'm sure it's going to be about that.
It's a very cool piece, and it's well worth it. And I don't really care if I overpay. As soon as I get the funds to do it, I'm gonna be.
Sometimes we have to splurge for things. I remember a couple years ago when we first moved here, I was looking for a Action 252 is what I was looking for. The first appearance of Superman, and I remember I had sold my house, and I was like, the one thing I'm going to do for myself when we move is I'm going to get an Action 252. Like, I'm determined to get an Action 252. And I got one, and it cost me about $1,000 to get an Action 252, and I was very, very happy with it. Wouldn't change the fact that it cost that much. Whatever. I understood it would, but there's not a lot of books that I chase like that. I years looking for that book. So every now and then you got to do something good for yourself. It helps, your self-esteem and stuff.
Or it just looks really cool. That's the whole
That
no problem admitting it. I got no problem. Is that my self-esteem will not be affected. It just looks really cool.
Hey, I'm with you on that. Like, I think the most. So I was a sideshow vendor for years, and I think that there was a piece I missed out on the Jessica Rabbit, the maquette that came out, and aftermarket was stupid, like real stupid for that piece, and I ended up getting the artist proof for like $800 when a couple years back, and it was just like I never thought I'd have it, and now it like sits over in my theater space, and I'm like, yes, I got it. It took fucking forever, but I did it. It was like one of those things where you graduate and you're just like, I've done something very cool, and you realize that no one thinks it's cool but you, but it doesn't matter because it's cool to you, and you took forever to get it. Like I almost didn't get it. It was on eBay, and I was scared shitless to buy something that expensive on eBay. I was like, oh my God, this is gonna come and it's gonna be broke or some shit and be sad. And I was talking to somebody and they were like, just do it. Quit being a bitch. Spend the money. And I was like, oh my God. So I bought it. It came in and, it just was beautiful and not broken or anything and lit up all right. And, it came with a little penguin that had the drink with the rocks and the glass and everything. And I was just like, holy fuck, I can't believe I got that. And it like actually didn't come in all broken and shit. But yeah, no, every now and then, eBay's what's up, but I'm scared of big purchases on it.
Oh, I've spent way too much money on eBay.
I'm scared of big purchases. We bought we had a show. We were a guest at a show one year that Ron Perlman was supposed to be at. And I went and I bought this Hellboy statue because I'm a big fan. And it's the only statue they ever did in his likeness. So I was like, man, but it's like 45 pounds, right? Between the top and the base. And so I'm like, I'm only going to take the base, right? And I'm walking around with it, like looking for Ron Perlman. And because I paid, even though I was a guest, I was like, whatever, I paid for a photo shoot and shit. And that morning, like an hour and a half before my photo shoot, and I was going to get him to sign this while we were doing it, they were like, oh, he canceled the show. And I was like, fuck, I've been carrying this around for 2 whole days. Yeah, no. 10 out of 10 doesn't recommend carrying statue around a show for 2 whole days.
I was expecting it to go way worse than that. Like you had tripped and dropped it, or you like sat it down, walked off without it, or something. Like I was expecting something really detrimental.
No, I've done
whatever.
I've done it with a binder of comics. I've sat them down in the show and walked the fuck off because I forgot them. I've done that. That sucks. I've watched guys put a piece of original art on like a case or something at MegaCon and turn around and that shit was gone.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen too.
I bought an original David Mack sketch. I sat it down. I look over my neighbor, my table's neighbor had dropped their coffee and it splooshed up right onto the sketch.
Oh no.
I was like, the fuck is this? And I went for a power walk because I was about to kill somebody.
And then it turned into Murder, She Wrote.
So then I like doubled back around and David's like, why are you crying? I'm like, I was just curious. I mean, drop the fucking thing on my... And he's like, well, honestly, it looks more like mine work now than it probably did whenever I gave it to you. Like,
oh my goodness.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. And there it is, right by my door with the fucking coffee stains on it, and it's the most unique thing.
There you go.
Oh my God, I love him. Seriously, you'll see me, like, next time that we're at a show and he's there, you'll see me get real nervous, like flop sweaty kind of nervous.
Oh my gosh, you're silly. You're a mess, dude.
Shut up. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but like, he's like man pretty or something and so fucking sweet.
Oh
and
my
I
God.
love him. And he, like when you pal around and have like, we take over the patio at Phoenix Comic-Con. You know how we do it at
I know.
Crazy.
I know.
We just take over the whole patio over there, and it's not like it used to, but it was way bigger. And we had like all of the tables kind of in a big horseshoe and all the chairs.
Oh, they do that shit, Andrew. Like they take over the whole thing.
We do. But we had
goes
like
out there. Everybody goes out there.
Yeah, everybody. Well, like we had all of the Aspen crew. We had like Tony Parker and Matt Grell, and like everybody was there. And the Polito coffin crew came in. Like we just take over, and God bless him, he and his +1 like walk in, and I'm like, oh, Mr. Mac, you should totally sit next to us and join us. And he did, and I'm like,
You smell so pretty.
It's just so nice. Him and Joe Weems. Oh, love it. Joe Weems let me pet his hair.
I haven't been to a con in like 3.5 years. I
Yeah,
don't think I'm gonna be coming back for like another year, or maybe another 2 years.
Oh,
And,
sure. When you're ready, and it's magical, but you'd never want to go in being anxious and unprepared and not ready for that. I mean, obviously you've been before and you know what to expect, but there's been moments where I've been so lucky to be a vendor and be able to sit behind a table and have that 2 or 3 feet of space and come out when I need to and then go back whenever I need a little bit of me time or whatever.
Right
So
on.
it's a thing. Like there are people who muster all that they are to step foot onto that convention floor because they are so introverted and
Absolutely
not comfortable, and they don their favorite superhero shirts and they bring their comic collection and they're there for 3 days having the time of their life.
And we're
that's
so
the fix
grateful.
and that's the fix they need for that year. And then they're
I'm
good.
just lazy. I am just lazy, and there's other reasons why too. And
I
I'm just not
respect that
feeling it
too.
right now. That's
Well-
all it really is with cons. I'm not feeling it eventually. I'll come back, but not feeling it. But I've been speaking for a while.
Right on.
Yeah.
And I do want to give you guys a chance to self-promote. So where people find you, bother you, back this book, get a foil cover, get a metal cover, get a mystery box.
That's it.
Go bother a bunch of people.
Well, where can they find you at, April?
Oh, I'm around the Ethereal group, but they're also welcome to find me at Reina Art. That's my fan page. And if they like dank dark memes, they're welcome to join my personal page, which is April Reina, spelled just like the screen. Oh, it's shameful.
It is
but
shameful.
I like it.
It's shameful.
That's why your wife and I get along so shamelessly.
Yeah, she's a mess too. So, but no, you can find me wherever any member of Ethereal dwells. Basically, if you find one of the artists or something, I'm probably not too far behind the artists. You can find me on Facebook, Dustin Burdell on Facebook. Instagram is Ethereal Publishing. You can also look up Ethereal or my name on Kickstarter, and you can find all the stuff that we publish there. Or you can go to www.ethereal-comics.com, and you can poke around there and see all the cool stuff. And you can order stuff from there too. That's one of the pluses from going to the website. But you can order from me directly as well. Currently, we do 2 Kickstarters a month, generally speaking, to put our books out. But here shortly, I think that's going to change to 1 with multiple books on it. So if you guys want to talk or shoot the shit, I'm always available and happy to do so.
And my campaigns get really interesting the month of October. So if you are interested in joining us for that once a year drawing challenge, tune in. It's awfully special.
Kinktober is quite special. Andrew, you should get in on Kinktober. You need Kinktober in your life.
What do I need?
Kinktober.
So okay, it started
I gotta hear
3
this.
years ago where I had I'd spent a decade drawing women. I'm really good at I'm pretty good. I'm all right at drawing women. But I was looking for an opportunity to kind of expand my wings a little bit. And it's COVID shut down, and I just want to work on, doing something that will help enrich me better as an artist. And so I started doing male anatomy breakdowns. I found a guy, like a weight trainer, that was letting me do like scientific muscle studies and stuff. And then my friend Justin Miller is like, oh, hey, if you're interested, I do this drawing challenge. It's like Inktober, but without like all of the stuff, like all the controversy that had happened. And I was like, oh. And then he got my creative hackles all up in roar. He's like, oh, you wouldn't be interested. You're a mom. I'm like, say what? Now, obviously, I come from the 80s, and like whatever you can do, I can do just the same. Like I'm ready to throw down. So I had already agreed to it before I knew what it was. So then the closer that we got to the month, he sends me this drawing challenge, and I'm just like, I really don't know what this stuff is. I am just so vanilla based. I'm like, Lord have mercy. So I start Googling this stuff. Oh my
no.
God. I was like, whoa, I'm learning some stuff. And then I'm like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna I'm gonna use this as an artistic study of anatomy. That's what I'm gonna approach it as. And that's exactly what I did. But by day 7, day 10, I was getting feedback like, this is some of the best stuff you've ever done. I'm like, okay, thank you. But I'm like really scared. Like I'm putting it out there. It's kind of like people going to the gym. Like you never know what it's going to look like, but you know, when you're done, you're like, whoa, I've really accomplished something. And so not only did I get really, really, really positive feedback, totally on the DL, because I mean, whatever. But I saw myself doing a 1-a-day challenge, and I was getting faster. My compositions were getting stronger. My anatomy was getting stronger. I was drawing dudes. And that's the whole point of me doing a lot of that during the COVID shutdown, was so that I could, you know, be a stronger, more well-rounded artist. By the time I was done, because I don't start it early. I might change my mind this year because I'm taking over that whole project manager mumbo jumbo. Like double dipping this year was rough. So by the time I started day 1 to day 31, I had 52 sketches. And it took me like an extra like 10 days or something to like finish all of them, but I had them all drawn. I had most of them inked, and I had a decent part of them already colored. In 31 days, I did 52 pieces. And I sat back and I nearly cried. I was like, whoa, that's an amazing feat. Have you ever like stacked 52 pages of like drawing paper and just felt the heft of it? It's a lot. And so I really felt accomplished. Every single one of those pieces sold. Every single one. I had like 0 left over. Not only that, I put together my very first Kickstarter, which was a total shit show. And I can't believe it funded without any pictures on it. But Wendy was talking me through how to like post for pictures and everything. I was like, oh my gosh. I felt like I literally ran a mile and accomplished something great. So then I went and did the second volume, and I had wonderful success. And now we're on, like, this upcoming year will be year 4, and I get better and better. No copyrighted characters, all original concept art, full color, the whole bit. And it's wonderful exercise and, I don't know, creative flexing.
Yeah. And then did terrible things to my poor bunny in there.
You gave me permission? You gave me permission.
I have no comment.
Know. Oh, it's
my poor bunny, my poor elves, all kinds of stuff.
Oh, yeah. I think the only person that was unfazed was Maya. God bless her.
Yeah, Maya made it out safe. Penny did not.
No,
poor Penny did not make it out safe in that damn
situation. Didn't.
I don't even know what we're doing anymore. I don't even know what we're talking about. Are we talking about just drunk characters really sexy?
Well, it's
yeah,
it's Red
basically.
Label.
Red Label.
Oh, great.
Anyway, we appreciate you having us on, Andrew.
Thank
It's
you
always a
so
lot of
much.
fun.
Yeah, happy to have you guys on. And I'm just going to quickly promote myself because I need it.
Yes, please.
I am Pop Anime Comics on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Come bother me. I like to be bothered on social media. I like when people actually say hello. Also, I like when people subscribe on YouTube. That makes a huge difference as well. It is free, and I guarantee you that you will find an interview in the 500 plus that I have done and my backlog that will be added hopefully soon onto you. There's an interview for you. I have a t-shirt that's out there. I buy me a coffee. My ad rates are up there. And yeah, pretty much all my social media is out there. So if you want to come say hi to me, see what I'm doing, and catch me usually Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'm doing interviews. And I typically do another show either Friday or Saturday nights called Embolden, where we talk about controversial topics in comics. So that's everything that I got going on. And on that note, I'm going to let one of you have the final word.
Oh, sweet
Word.
baby Jesus.
We could go with that if you want. I mean, I'm more than happy.
Hey, thanks for hanging out with us, guys. We appreciate you supporting us and Andrew. Andrew's got amazing videos. We love watching his content, and we appreciate him being on his show. So make sure you guys follow him, give him subscribe. Every little bit helps. Thank you so very much. And don't forget, someone is always listening.
And on that note, I couldn't have said that any better myself, and that is a wrap.